sixth session here. Last breakout session of this seventh SAEC 2024. The topic of this breakout session is environmental sustainable climate solutions, which will be chaired by our Honorable Dr. Govinder Sutar, Professor, Department of Economics, International University of Business, Agriculture and Technology, IUBAT, Bangladesh. And the discussant of this session will be Mr. M.D. Jahid Ibn Jalal, PhD Fellow, Zhongnan University of Economics and Law, China. Now I would like to hand over this session to our Honorable Chair, Dr. Govinder Sutar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our very special session. This is a very important session. Okay. I would like to first appreciate Salem for keeping this important topic, environment and sustainable climate solution. We all know that we are living in a climate constant world. I think climate is challenging us. Even climate is threatening us, threatening our lives, even livelihoods, in many ways, all over the world. Even country like Bangladesh, we are not contributing much to the greenhouse gas emission. We are not contributing much to the climate change, but we are victim of the climate change all over the. All of you, we are sufferers. So whole world is now facing challenge how to mitigate the effect of climate change, how to adapt with the climate change, and how to find a solution for this climate constant one. I'm very happy that we have very four important presentations. All the four presentations actually touches some of the aspect of the climate change and particularly its adaptation, mitigation, and solution. So all the four different papers are different level. Some of the talking about the very macroeconomic level, some of the talk about the small regional level, but all the paper are really touching some of the challenge of environment and climate. So I welcome all the presenters and congratulate them for their presentation. Some of the paper are excellent, very excellent. I'm very happy to see some of the paper. So now I hope that four of us, our first presentation will be on challenges and policy implication for low carbon pathway for Kerala and integrated assessment modeling approach. It will be presentation made by Professor Sanjeev Puhi. He is a professor, National Council of Applied Economic Research, India. Second paper on sustainable dynamics, exploring the linkage between environmental temperature and economic growth connected with rainfall and carbon emission in Bangladesh by Mr. S.N. Nasiruddin. He's sitting my right-hand side. And we have another paper on mangrove resource extraction in the Sundarban and its linkage with the non-mangrove income. Paper will be presented by Ms. Isra Jerin Riha. Because of her certain condition she has exam, she will make a video presentation, but she will make at the last of this. Our next presentation will be the impact of adoption of Nigeria varieties for adaptation to climate change in rice production system in East Africa, case for Madagascar. This is a very important issue. Bangladesh, we are facing similar challenges. We are also trying to develop some climate tolerant, salt tolerant rice varieties. So this paper will be very relevant for us. So I would like to again congratulate all the four presenters, and I would like to now request Professor Sanjeev Puhi for making his presentation. He will make presentation online. Professor Mohit, the floor is now for you. I hope you are online. Would like
I'm online.
Okay, thank you. So welcome again, Professor Sanjeev Mohit. Youth paper I have looked at. It's a great paper. I'm so happy to see such a nice paper. It's a great paper. I would say that you use CG model and other at the macro level, and the topic you have touched, low carbon pathway, that is the need of the time. So I'm not talking much. I now welcome you. Floor is now your Professor Mohit. Rohit.
Okay. Should I start now?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Before starting, our time is for presentation 10 minutes. I would appreciate if you kindly could manage your time.
Sure. Let me share my screen then. Can you see me screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So basically, this is a paper of a state of a, as you know, India has announced 2070 as a net zero target year. So, and India is a big country. So, others at the national level, states are taking care how to do it. Different, since India is a big country, states are different with a different kind of resource endowment and the choices. So states are also very worried about this, how to do it. So basically for this purpose, we try to do a small state. We depend on the rest of India for many of their inputs as well as energy. What should be the best way to do it? We have chosen the state of Kerala, which is basically a service-based economy. There are very little agricultural production, manufacturing is weak. Now around 80% of their energy is imported from the rest of India. Only 20% they are producing hydroelectricity. So their emissions part, though in a sense is not there within the boundary of the state, but at the end of the end period when all states are to reduce this kind of, people are importing fossil-based electricity from the rest of India, that we take it as they are part of it. So in this concern, we try to do this modeling kind of see how you can do it. So there are things, there are times is short, I will try to go. There are two sides, mitigation as well as development. Our focus is basically mitigation studies. And to do this, we have tried to create a model for this. There are these kind of low carbon pathway. There are two kind of models exist in the now. One is a bottom energy models like a Markal, Times, or Message One Plus, who are basically output and price are assumed to be of GDP to be exchange return given, and try to see what is the best way we can do the, whatever technical choices available. We try to choose the risk cost approach. Problem that this kind of modeling approach does not take out the intersectoral impact on the sectors. And of course, if there is demand of one of the low carbon technology choice very much, their price should go up. But this kind of model cannot capture it. On the other hand, we have kind of a top-down macro or CG model, where basically GDP and price are entirely determined. They are consistent, expertly capture the cost build-up and associated price effect. Problem is that this kind of data constant does not permit all the technology choices. There are 20 or 30 technology choices may be available in the transport sector. You can't have a CG model or a macro model to capture it. So this is a problem, this. Though there are strong points, there are weaknesses. So basically what we try to do here, interior approach. This is one of the ways to do it. Basically, we try to have macro model, we get the output, each year output price you are getting. This fit to the energy model, which determine the energy choices and the different technology choices and give the kind of investment you need or the invest number you needed. These are again feedback to the macro model. This kind of looping we try to do in our exercises and try to find what is this. So basically, this is the kind of things approach is how we have taken it. We have a two model I have tell you was a macro CG model. It is patterned after theta powered model. And since Kerala is one of the state of India, so we have to do a three kind of region model, multi-region model, Kerala, rest of India, rest of world. There are 49 sectors and all major sectors of electricity like coal, thermal, hydro, solar, wind and model separate as a sector. These are really learning with a, we have a kind of sectorization scheme so that both sectors given the bottom-up management model are more or less we can synchronize it. Energy demand is determined by various categories: agriculture, cooking, building, transport, heating. All kind of electric capacity and energy mix are derived from our exercise. All technology and this emerging are exposed. So this is kind of things we do it. There are this kind of integrated model, I think time is short. Basically, it's what we do it. These are the sector scheme, 49 sector, as you can see, many of the manufacturing energy intensive sector model separately. Also some of the electric sector and what are the main invisible sector of the Kerala economy is there. So this is sector scheme in Kerala, this is of the rest of the world and rest of the India. These are the kind of multi-region models. So basically, in this kind of, we are trying to get solving our model, this kind of integrated model for 2021 base year to 2050. So we are running produce a baseline, then we run a policy run. What we are to give some policy shock and see how come this kind of emission may come down. So this is kind of the approach, typical kind of a, I mean, you must have heard of the term regional model of this kind of dynamic kind of we are doing a setup. These are a baseline, I think I have 5 more minutes, so better we. So these are the baseline, I think you can see this kind of how much energy demand. We can find that most of the energy demand is coming in the Kerala, and the baseline is from the industry sector. Cooking related kind of things. And this is the kind of emissions weight. So we are trying to, this is baseline, policy done, we are taking 3 simulations we are running. One is, suppose we are assume the Kerala assume that they doesn't want to restrict fossil electricity. They want to import only renewable electricity from the rest of India. There we don't assume any trade between Kerala or India or rest of the world as such. Scenario 2, we are assuming scenario 1, first we assume there is capacity augmentation of renewable electricity in Kerala as well as rest of India. So we are assuming that 50% of the existing potential of renewable electricity by various modes is achieved and rest in Kerala and in rest of India by the terminal year of 2050. Fund of investment is not a constant. Between the scenario 1 and scenario 2, difference is the scenario we assume that the market takes care of it. But in scenario 2, we are assuming that the policy intervention by government, we believe that market may not work it. So they want to use a revenue kind of policy instruments or taxes corrections from the fossil electricity distributed to the renewable electricity to push up the cost. Scenario 3, these are one way to increase the energy supply of renewable electricity. Other could be that we want to increase energy efficiency. So you are assuming energy efficiency goes up. This is one way to, if you have more energy saved, then of course you need to demand for electricity or energy will go down. Don't you assume productivity growth part this? This is the kind of thing we are giving shock. And we are presuming that if you baseline compared to baseline in scenario 1, your GDP, etc., must fall out. Compared to the fall in GDP occurs. Whereas the scenario 2, if your expansion with support mechanism is there, this fall in GDP may be stopped or reduced at all. So this is the kind of thing we get. I think this is, we should go where I don't think much time, basically. So I try to do kind of scenario 3, basically we had to foresee what kind of things happened. Scenario 3, we found that it was much better, all sector positive growth takes if the productivity happens and energy efficiency demand onto this. And we found that it is kind of scenario 3, we are realizing what kind of demand for the fossil-based electricity and both buses, all kind of energy demand with energy efficiency falls. And if we look at the energy mix also, we count there is a change in energy mix, more kind of renewable sector also takes place in the scenario 3 scenario. If we look at the emissions, I think the different kind of potential between the transport sector, we have all this kind of fleet or passenger traffic. We have all kind of choice, rail, road, fleet, road, buses. This in the baseline buses, fight on the clean kind of things. We kind of do it, this kind of thing. We can get this kind of model, can give you this kind of numbers. And we can see that compared to the baseline in the Apollo scenario 3, all kind of things, more electricity, more energy with lower emissions kind of take place. And we found that per capita emissions can fall almost drastically can fall significantly in this scenario. From 2.182,
you have to go.
it falls compared to 3.73. So these kind of things happens. We did also, one of the worry of this, what is the employment? We found there is not much change. Employment, there are a lot of opportunity potential in the renewable sector, so there are employment creation takes place. So this is kind of things, but what is these are kind of investment number we try to get from the Western versus policy scenario. With policy scenario 3, investment number compared to Western is much less takes place basically. So these are kind of employment number. I think almost time is up. So better go to. So this is kind of thing. Business as usual versus this we do it. We found that Kerala state similar policy indicated Kerala state domestic contract as all sector face contract with reduced electricity under scenario 1. A marketable approach to tax and subsidy perform better in meeting the SDP loss during the transition along with augmentation of renewable electricity. Higher energy leads to energy saving, leading to lower emission and lower energy. Prudent to augment capacity of electricity depending on imported electricity may be costly for any country because whenever any country or state. Results show the direct employment from operational maintenance of power plant would be significantly more than the baseline employment projection from 2040 onwards, and the policy scenario 3 aggressive use of renewable electricity, increased energy efficiency and productivity growth is expected to provide 0.10 million more direct employment in energy sector in Kerala as compared to baseline scenario. Investment in innovation not only encourages employment generation from operational maintenance, but also for manufacturing, installation of new power plant policy scenario 3 is expected to generate additional 75,000 as compared to baseline. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Puhit, for very excellent presentation. And sorry for you have to summarize and go very fast for the very long presentation, but it was very clear. It is very good. Thank you very much. So what we'll do, we'll take the question at the end of the other 3 presentation. You have to kindly wait and see, and then now we'll go for the next presentation, and we'll invite for question at the end of all the presentation. Next presentation is on sustainable development dynamics, exploring the linkage between environmental temperature and economic growth connected with the rainfall and carbon emission in Bangladesh. It will be made by Mr. S.M. Nasiruddin. Mr. Nasiruddin, floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. At first, I would like to thank the Honorable Chair for this session, and a big thank to Sanem. I am S.M. Nasiruddin, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Science and Technology University, Gopalganj. I am here to telling a story titled Sustainable Development Dynamics, exploring the linkage between environmental temperature and economic growth connected with rainfall and carbon emission. My presentation outline is here. I'll discuss introduction, theoretical background, literature review, data and methodology, the ADF test for unit root, ARDL bound test for quantification, error correction model, and at last is granular causality test and summing up the result, and the diagnostic test, stability test, and the result of granular causality. And next is conclusion and the policy recommendation for the story. In this part, the introduction, as we know, Bangladesh is a growing market economy and is rapidly developing country in the world. Bangladesh economy is mostly dependent on agriculture because it's engaging major part of the people in Bangladesh. Agriculture has connection with rainfall, temperature, a lot of environmental conditions like natural calamity, global warming, environmental pollution, climate change, and so on. So agriculture actually depend on not only the input of labor, land, capital, it have huge influence on environmental issues. Carbon emission, temperature, rainfall was used as a proxy to determine the climate change effect in agricultural productivity. In 2008, a literature was found. Just as an opposite scenario has been noticed in Egypt, that rainfall and temperature has negatively impact on the carbon emission. have positively impact on the krill sport crops. The climate change is nowadays is a burning issue, as we know, and as far we've seen in several news or several from the several sources of information. Carbon emission is exceedingly responsible for the climate change by increasing the world temperature and polluting the environment. Basically, the study is to identify whether temperature and GDP are related or not, and how carbon emission and rainfall and temperature affect GDP. So, Ali and et al. Has found that carbon emission and temperature negatively and rainfall positively stimulate the economic growth in Pakistan. Economic growth is also achievable without deteriorating the environmental quality in Bangladesh, that is found by Amin et al. In 2012. So environmental factors have noticeable influence on economic growth. An increase in 1% temperature across the country led the world GDP goes down by 3.8%. That is found in 2009. The production of rice is not only dependent, as we know, that not only depend on the area of land cultivated or use of fertilizer, but also depend on the environmental factor, rainfall, carbon emission, temperature. Here, carbon emission, average temperature affects rice production in Pakistan positively. That is found by Chandio et al. In 2020. Therefore, environmental factors must have to be studied in the development literature to achieve sustainable development. Here is the theoretical consideration. Selim et al. 2019 have studied some of the factors like research and development, annual rainfall, temperature, and the literacy rate that affects the agricultural production. Study revealed that 1% increase in the production of barley and sorghum led to diminished carbon dioxide emission respectively by 3% and 4% in Pakistan. Here, the carbon emission and krill oil production negatively linked in Ghana. That is found in 2015. So we have studied a lot of literature that have environmental link to economic growth. So the study is must needed in this session, in this time. The objective of my study is to investigate the nexus between environmental temperature and GDP growth in Bangladesh, and how GDP is affected by carbon emission, rainfall, and temperature. Here is a bunch of literature review. I will skip this portion because here I have a lot of literature review that support my studies. Then the methodology I will discuss. The study area, definitely it is Bangladesh economy, and the survey period is 1960 to 2016. It's a balanced time series data that is collected from the World Development Indicator of World Bank. My constant variable is temperature, that is in log form, natural log of temperature, natural log of carbon emission, natural log of rainfall, natural log of gross domestic product. In the methodology part, I have 3 sections, that is pre-diagnostic test before applying the main models, that is ADF unit root test, ARDL bound test, and the post-diagnostic test. I apply for the check of the robustness test, that is autocorrelation test, Jarkuber test of normality, stability test, and so on. And the main model I have employed in the analysis, that is ADF test for unit root test, ARDL bound test for co-integration error correction model, where I found long run and short run relationship between the constant variable, and lastly the Granger causality test. Here is the mathematical settings of the model.
You go directly to the result.
Sure, sir. This is the descriptive part of this data, and the result. Here the unit root test result, I found in the level form the data is stationary, and some data are stationary in first difference form. So there have an admixture of the data that is suggest to run ARDL model. So here is the lag selection criteria. I have found that different lag selection criteria where AIC criterion is used for the analysis. And I have run two model and where the dependent variable is long temperature. Temperature has the selected model, ideal model, and the result is selected model. And I used there 3 lakhs for the first model and 5 lakhs for the second model. The ideal bound test result suggests that in the first model, when the dependent variable is temperature, the first model have passed the conjugation test, and I found conjugated relationship because the F statistic test is 8.01. That is much higher than the lower and upper bound. That is suggesting that there have long run conjugated relationship between the variable. And the second model, when the dependent variable is long GDP, there have also the F statistics. I found there have long run relationship in the concerned variable. Here have the short run and long run relationship for the model of the dependent variable temperature. The result suggests that when the GDP increases, 1% increase in the GDP, it led to decrease temperature 0.021%. And
say again, what? If
when GDP is increasing 1%, the temperature is decreasing 0.021%. And the conjugation error correction model suggests a result that is the short-run disequilibrium is adjusting at a pace of 0.78% each year. In the long run, we have found that GDP also reduce the temperature in Bangladesh. That is statistically significant. And the second model, I have found that GDP, carbon emission, rainfall have influence on GDP, but temperature have no influence on GDP. In the long run, I didn't found any significant relationship, statistically significant relationship in the model. Granger causality test also suggests that there have carbon emission causes GDP, and the result of the post-diagnostic test of the model, all the diagnostic tests suggest that there have the model have no problem or specific dysfunctional issue in the model. The Jacobi test suggests that there have normality of the data, and the Ramsey reset test suggests that there have no functional bias in the model. Here the overview of the data, there have lots of ups and downs in the temperature. There have a huge jump in the rainfall in 1980. There have carbon emission flow in the data, and the GDP, our GDP is gradually increasing. And this is the stability test that have passed in our model, and Kushum test and Kushum square test that is suggest that the data is stable in the model. And the conclusion, the policy recommendation is that there have some issues in the environment and development, and as the data suggests that the growth is happening in Bangladesh and reducing the temperature. That is, we must concern, and we must think that to the environment, and should invest in concerning about environment, about temperature. That is happening from the data in 1960 to 2016. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Nasiruddin, for very important topic. Actually, really, we all know that agriculture is fully dependent on environment. What is agriculture? We depend in a good soil. We need water. We need good temperature. Correct? Soil, water, temperature. This is the foundation for any agriculture, any crops to grow. And climate change affect all this. Climate change increase temperature. Climate change affect the water, although he does not look at water here. Climate change also can affect the soil temperature and soil many things. So climate change affect all aspects of agriculture. So understanding how climate change affect or influence our production, particularly rice or other whatever we do, that is very important for us, Bangladesh as a agricultural economy largely. So that is a very important, very important topic. Mr. Nasruddin, I hope you will you have a good data from 1960s, but of course, I'll tell you privately, I see a lot of issue with your methodology, and we need to clarity for that. And our discussion will touch on, but topic is very important. This is a very, thank you very much for that. Now maybe we can go to the our study from Madagascar. Mr. Aristide Akbar. Mr. Aristide Akbar, are you with us? Hello, Mr. Aristide Akbar.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. And now we want to go with you first. Could you please make your presentation by 10 to 12 minutes?
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen. Please go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you.
I think you can you can go for a presentation mode. Then your screen will be bigger, larger. Yeah, you go to the presentation mode.
Okay, let me switch on my video, my camera.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to this presentation. The title is the impact of adoption of Nerica varieties for adaptation to climate change in rice production system in East Africa, case of Madagascar. My name is Aristide Akbar. I'm a research assistant at Africa Rice in Senegal. Those are outline a presentation, outline, introduction, question, sampling, and conclusion and suggestion. So, please. So, what is the importance of rice in Africa and around the world? We all know that that in Sub-Saharan Africa and others developing countries around the world, the agriculture is the main activity of population where most of them are poor. Then, due to a dynamic of a consumption preference, rice became a strategic food playing a significant role in food security around the world, also including Madagascar. Now, Madagascar, even though it is a major rice producer country in Sub-Saharan Africa, there is a challenge due to its production. So rice is the daily food in Madagascar. What are the challenges faced by rice production in Madagascar? There are low productivity, which is affected also exacerbated by the diverse effects of climate change that manifest by a drought and a new disease on a crop. Now, first to that, the scientists develop a numerous innovation, including a new variety such as Nerica 4, which is suite to upland farming environment, and it is very drought resistant. Then this kind of variety is disseminated in much countries around Africa. In green are the all countries where Africa Rice develop its activity to help farmers to face to challenge occur in rice production. Here we are talking about Madagascar. Then to evaluate the impact that this variety, mainly the Nerica 4, occur on our production, we formulate two research questions. That the first is assess the impact, the adoption rate of the Nerica 4, and what are the impacts that this variety occur on our production, on our selected outcome. Here is the sampling and data collection. We use a 2-degree random sampling technique that allows also to collect data on 448 households during a follow-up data survey in Senegal. In Madagascar. The data, the study are carried out in a central part of Madagascar where our activity or other research center develop a research in Madagascar. To analyze our data and present our result, we use due to the first research question, we use the adoption model to assess the actual and potential adoption rate of this variety. And for the second question research, we combine two methods of estimation, which are the propensity score matching and IV method. We use first the propensity matching to select adopter farmers which can be matched properly with a non-adopter in order to estimate a robust estimation from the impact. Our outcomes selected are rice income, rice yield, food security, and poverty reduction. Those are formula to calculate a food.
Go to your result. Please go to your result. I think that will be so. Then you have more time to explain that result.
Okay. Here, adopter with different adopter farmers who sowed rice variety at least one of his plot, and we use the local average response function to estimate the impact using a SATA software version 14. The impact assessment method that we use, we can use a naive method, which is a simple difference between potential outcome, but due to the lack of information, we can use a counterfactual approach developed by Heckman, and you introducing a instrument. Here, the instrument that we have to use have to influence the decision to use or to adopt the Nerica variety, but the instrument has to not affect our outcome. Then those are the formula, the mathematical formula to estimate the rate. What are our findings? From the adoption rate, we can see that the actual adoption rate is estimated to be at 23% relative to a potential adoption of 51. This shows that there is a gap of 28% that farmers, if research and the policy are developed to support this variety, we can fill this gap. In terms of impact, we can see easily that due to the adoption generate a positive and significant impact on our selected outcome, allowing farmers to increase their yield by 581 kilogram per hectare, which increased the income by $157. And food consumption also is increased. Score is increased by around 17 points. And the daily per capita consumption expenditure is increased by $5 per day. What are the change of this impact on our population? We can see easily that due to adoption, the poor the poor status are reduced, and also the food consumption in our population is increased, however, due to the adoption of this variety. In conclusion, we can see that the impact of Nerica rice adoption can help farmers to overcome the challenge due to the climate change. Also, using the combined propensity and rate, we are able to generate a significant and positive impact on our selected outcome. The policy implication of this study is if the extension agent support the extension of the adoption and organize many training sessions of good agricultural practice for climate smart agriculture and develop a growing environment also. And at end, those actions will contribute to the increase the domestic production, and which will allow to favorize the self-sufficiency in rice and also improve life condition and reduce poverty in Madagascar. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for very nice presentation and very positive. It looks that it has a good prospect for the increasing household food production as well as income as well as reduction of poverty. So thank you very much. So we'll take the question after all the presentation. Please stay with us. Okay. Next is the video. Huh?
Thank you. So, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Honorable Chair, Discussant, and Sanem, for giving me the opportunity. I am Isra Riha, welcoming all of you to my presentation. The title of my presentation is Mangrove Resource Extraction in the Sundarbans and its linkages with non-mangrove income. So moving to the next slide, here I have discussed about the background of this research. And as we know, Sundarban is the largest mangrove forest in the world, situated in the Bay of Bengal Delta, border parts of Bangladesh and India. And as we know, the people living in the area relied heavily on the Sundarban's resources, and the forest environment provides a unique home to animal and plants. And a wide range of animal, including Royal Bengal tiger, wild boar, spotted deer, Indian grey mongoose, and fishing cat can be found in the Sundarbans. The Sundarbans has been designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a wildlife reserve. And so the government, non-profit, and international organizations are trying to save it and its biodiversity. For example, Bangladeshi government has policies in place to control illegal fishing, logging, and poaching in Sundarbans. And the majority of people who live adjacent to the Sundarbans depend on fishing as a source of its income, and they do it using both traditional and contemporary methods. And different results shows that Sundarbans ecosystem is changing over time. And after reviewing different literature, investigation shows that how the people who live in Sundarbans region of Bangladesh depend on mangrove habitats for their livelihood, provided empirical evidence of the importance of mangrove forest for local livelihoods. And another study explores the causes of the decline of mangrove forest in 9 communities near the Imo River estuary. Another study presents the amount and manner in which its primary economic products are used by those who rely on mangrove resources. And however, there is a knowledge gap with respect to the impact of non-mangrove based income on the extraction of provisioning ecosystem services. Now let's move to the next slide. Here, the overall objective of the study is to understand how a household income from non-mangrove sources affects the extraction of mangrove provisioning ecosystem services. And the study's specific objectives are to examine the Sundarbans people's resource extraction practices, and the second one is to understand the effect of non-mangrove income practices on mangrove income. Okay, now let's move to our next slide. Here, methodology part has been discussed, and the study was conducted in 3 unions in Satkhira districts, Shamnagar Upazila, and those are Burigwalini, Munshiganj, and Atulia. The data was obtained from randomly selected 232 respondents who resided in those areas. And furthermore, secondary data and relevant information were collected from variety of reports, journals, articles, and other sources. And then a simple random sampling approach was used to access the respondent's household. And finally, quantitative information is gathered about the cost associated with the extraction of resources from both mangrove and non-mangrove sources, as well as the provision ecosystem services. So here I'm showing a map of Shamnagar Upazila as we are seeing. Okay, next is multiple linear regression is used to determine the study's outcome, and a linear regression analysis was used to examine the relationship between total income from mangroves and a number of independent variables, including farm size, pond area, asset score, household number, age, education, time to collect water, waste from non-mangrove sources are denoted as X1, X2, X3 to X10 here. Okay, now here are my result and discussion part. So, as we know, many of the people who live near Sundarbans mostly depend on it for their livelihood. Fishing, crab collecting, honey harvesting, and golpata collection are the main source of their income. And the fishing or crab collecting activities are dependent on the lunar cycle, as the tides in the river ebb and flow with the moon. And the local refer this cycle as gone, and each gone lasting 7 days. And they are only allowed to go river twice a month, but may apply for to stay
5
longer.
minutes left.
Okay, they are all they can go still longer. They need to take permission, paying 120 taka for per day, and they have to undergo a police check when they return. So having restriction in recent time, on an average they can go 8 months or 14 months yearly. Okay, then most of the crab collectors went to the river early in the morning and come back at the noon, depending on the time of ebb and flow tide. Those who spend the whole one in the forest, they must take their necessary things, and for this they need to bear 1,000 to 1,200 taka for each person, and which they called kalan in their local language. And they also take food for catching crab, which cost 400 taka around. Then fishing, and fishing is the same as and the majority list of fish is bhangal, paisha, shrimp, kuchia, and they collect gold 2 times a year at the time of winter season, which holds maximum 30 days and at a time, and a total of 60 days. And they calculate the measurement in kaun. 1 kaun is equals to 7 mon or 280 kg. And a 500 kaun boat could hold 100 kaun or 700 mon golpata. They also collect honey, and honey is collected by people in 2 ways. During the collection season, Mahajan took 6 to 7 laborers with them and bear their cost. Another way is when while going for fishing or another while returning, and the maximum capacity of fuel load are per boat. From mangrove. And household with more at a higher total revenue from mangrove with an and it means that a 1 acre increase in pond area is associated with a and similarly a 1 unit increase in household members is associated with an 8.75 increase in total income from mangrove. Being involved in food production is associated with an 81.30 increase in total income from mangrove, and this coefficient is statistically significant at the 5% level. And in case of household with a wage income from non-mangrove employment, total income from mangrove decreased by 28.75%.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay, thank you. We have seen heteroscedasticity problem here, and in order to solve this issue, we used robust standard error for our analysis. And finally, we can say that this study found out the livelihood strategies and resource extraction behavior living near Sundarbans, and it was also observed that high level of household income does not necessarily lead of lower level of mangrove resource extraction. And if we want to help local living close to the Sundarbans, to the Sundarbans, lessen the dependency on mangrove activities, the government and other relevant parties should offer them alternative means of subsistence also. Okay, then. Okay, thank you all for your patience. Let me know if you have any queries.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. We have recorded the presentation and we'll play
our discussion. Mr. MD Jahid Jalal. So you have how much time you want to take? 10, 12 minutes?
I think it's started 10 minutes.
10 minutes, please, because we don't have, we are already crossing the time. Already 5:08.
First of all, thank you so much, Sanel, for inviting me as a discussant. And I'm feeling so happy and proud that Professor Ghulam Rasool sir is here, one of the greatest scientists in our country, especially in this field, environment and energy related studies. So I'm feeling really honored that I'm talking in front of you. Okay, so it's really hard to actually mention all the things presented by the presenters because a lot of papers, like 4 papers, but I will try my best that to put my point of view. So let's start with the first paper, which is actually talk about the policy implication to reduce the carbon emission. This paper actually shows the pathways, different policy implications here. And most interesting, it's a very rigorous paper, but I have seen a lot of things have done here. The most important part is the methodology part, like it's using the CG model. Also, there is integrated modeling approach, top down and bottom up. Both model has been used here. And another thing is this paper has the policy relevance also. So the author actually touched the 2070 target of the India, and another thing is the most fascinating thing was of this paper was discussion about the employment. So it's very important when the policymaker actually take policies, uh, how it affect the macroeconomic indicators like in employment. So I would say this is a very interesting thing of this paper. So let me talk about some like what I think that this could be incorporated or this can be discussed in this paper. Like when I see the CG modeling kind of paper, always actually who don't know the CG modeling, they actually, I think, see some black box in the paper because a lot of linear regressions or linear programmings happening in the black box. So in the paper, actually, first initially it mentioned that this paper considered the environment and other factors, but inside the paper actually I didn't find any clue that how actually this paper consider these factors in their calculations or results. That's the number one point. And the second thing is this paper actually take three different scenarios, uh, but in, for example, policy A, policy B, and policy C. But the author actually take in second step policy A plus policy B. Then in third step policy A plus B plus C. But it would be great if we can see all the policies separately and then actually summing up those policies so that actually the readers or the policymakers can think of that specific policy, what is the effect size of that specific policy intervention. So I think those can be actually added. And the another thing is, I think this study actually assumed the technology, very uniform rate technology for different sectors. But actually, it's a very key thing. I think the sectors are very different. It has each technological efficiency. So I think authors can reconsider or rethink that how can we incorporate these what I can say technological rate sector wise so that we can get more robust result. And another thing is this study actually talk about the renewable technology also. So which renewable technologies actually currently present in Kerala, those things actually not mentioned in this paper. So this was about, okay, so this was about the first study. I think Sir can also add. Okay, so if I go to the next presentation, which was about the sustainable development dynamics. Okay. So when I see the title of this paper, actually, I was thinking that the paper is working on the relation or nexus between temperature and economic growth, and how rainfall and carbon actually influence this relationship, kind of moderating things I was expecting. But when I see the paper, it is actually the relationship between these three climate factors with GDP or economic growth. So I think the author can work on the title fix first, that what should be actually more, I think, explorable or more accurate. And the thing is actually the result is a bit surprising to me because when presenter actually was talking about the literature review, I just put some evidence that one literature review, the author said that increase in temperature results or cause to the decrease in GDP. The literature says actually. So this is actually reasonable because when temperature goes up, it reduces the productivity of the laborers and other things, there are health issues and other things actually related. So our GDP can go down. But in this study, I found that the author actually found that if GDP increases 1%, then temperature decrease by some portion of percentage. But actually, temperature is a global fact, global climate factor, I think. So how can actually GDP of a particular country affect the temperature of a particular region? I think author can actually revisit the reality context first, and then actually
This is a serial misnomer. Please correct it. Otherwise, this is a serial. Thank you.
Yeah.
When I was listening. Okay.
Similarly, so author also found that 1% increase in GDP leads to decrease temperature by 0.097% in the long run also. So suddenly when reader actually read these things, he can think that, so are we in the place where we are producing things in a sustainable manner, or all the technologies are climate friendly and green climate, we are considering these things seriously? So these things actually, I think some confusion is going on in this paper. So that's why I'm not talking about the methodology aspect.
I can just add one
Yeah,
more
sure.
point. In the title, you say environmental temperature.
Yeah.
What is environmental temperature? Air temperature. It is the air temperature, not the environmental temperature. I could. So please correct your title also.
Yes. So if I go the next paper, which is related to Madagascar, I think the idea is so nice to see a good variety like climate adaptive variety. What is the impact of that variety to farmers' livelihood, per se, that socioeconomic and other things. But I have few observation in this paper, like this paper actually used the matching technique, and then it incorporate instrumental variable. And when we use instrumental variable, we, like all researchers, are very concerned about how good the instrumental variable is. So the paper or the author should justify that how the the instrumental variable is. Like, is it good instrumental variable what I'm using in the model or not? So it needs proper justification. Either you take it from the literature or take it from your own justification or your own experiment. So you need to actually prove those things. And yeah,
I think last is not required because she is not here.
okay, yeah, I think she's here.
Huh? Why she is not responded when?
Okay, so I'm going quickly. So another thing is in this paper in table 5, I saw that there is a bias reduction after matching, but this is good that when I matched, the bias has been reduced. But the thing is the R-square value, actually. The R-square value is too low. So how can we actually realize that matching? I think the author should can take control more variables or think about it, that how can we get more good fitted model for this. Yeah. And another thing is for this paper is related to the sample selection. So this paper actually talk about the stratified sampling, random sampling method, but it considers like four or five points. But the author actually need to think about like these 4 points or 4 type of farmers or 4 type, like the stratification types. Is it enough for the farmer who are living on that place? Those types actually defining those characteristics of those area of farming. This is so important. And how much proportion actually each strata the author considered. That is also important thing. It need to be actually mentioned in the paper. And I'm curious about to know that this is only about the Nerica 4 variety. So what about the other varieties? I think, I don't know about the Madagascar, that how many varieties, climate adaptive varieties actually there, but since he only worked on the Nerica 4, so when we select the respondents, so are there only the respondent who cultivate the traditional farming, or the other modern varieties also? So that can be a sample bias also. And the last one that is also, let me be very short. So last one that is also important for uh, our, like, if we think about the southern part, their livelihood and things, it is very important paper like forest resource, what's this, use of sustainable use of forest resources. So actually the author, uh, I'm very curious about the methodology. So author, I think, can use another technique, like she or he, like author use the multi
Random
random sampling and OLS. But OLS needs actually need to be tested, but I didn't find those kind of tests on that paper. And I think this kind of study is based, if we can do by GIS technique, I think this would be very interesting job. Like, and I think there are many factors actually behind the using mangrove forest resources. And author also actually mentioned that there are a lot of employment related to the forest resource extraction, like honey and other things. So are we considering all the things that, are we saying that all these things are not needed for the forest conservation or not? So these things actually need to be considered. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Jahid Ibn Jalal. Very excellent comment. I am so happy that you touched rightly the strength and weakness of all the paper. I strongly believe that if authors take note of this comment, it will be improved. Paper will be improved a lot, and authors will get chance. We will finally 1 minute each to respond to that. Before that, I would like to give to our audience some chance to ask few questions. Please, floor is now yours. Be brief, because you already we are in a time constraint. Please feel free to ask question. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. My name is Ibrahim Hassan, associate at SAEC. So my first question is to, as I can see, is Mr. Jahan Riha is present here, and his partner Dr. Nahid Sarkar is also present here. So I'm just curious to know, you have mentioned that when family size increases, income also increases, but you didn't mention the intuition behind it. So how does it work? What are the income sources around certain areas? So how does it work? This is my question. And for Nasiruddin, Mr. Nasiruddin, I have also the same concern. What was the intention behind the decrease of temperature with the increase of GDP? And that's it from my side.
Okay. We'll take all the one round, no second round. So please quickly and
I'm sorry, the Shoila question. And my question to SM Nasiruddin. Are there any specific regions or sectors within Bangladesh that are more susceptible to the impacts of environmental temperature on economic growth and carbon emissions?
Any other question?
Hello everyone, I am Anika Mumtaz. So my question is to Mr. Puhit. What role can international partnerships and cooperation play in facilitating Kerala's transition to a low carbon economy?
Very good question.
Uh,
I hope our presenter taking note of the question.
My question is to Nasiruddin sir. We know that along with the economic growth of a country, the number of industry and transportation or vehicle is also increased. And we know that carbon dioxide is emitted from industry or vehicle. So if the economic growth or GDP increase, then the number of transportation increase, industry increase, then emission also increase. So that means we can say that GDP growth is also can increase the number of emission. But your study is showing that 1% increase of GDP is on decreasing 0.0 to 1% emission. How if you explain it? Thank you.
Any other question? Anybody? It's the last chance. No question. Okay. So now I would like to give chance to our presenters. I know that time is short. You cannot address all the question, and some of you can do bilaterally. So whatever you can, I can start with. I let me start with the first presenter, Professor Puhi.
Yeah, thank
Professor
you
Puhi,
for
could
the
you please-
discussion and the comments.
please.
Actually, this model, we have a lot of options are there to this kind of different choice of technologies or efficiency gains, which we have not really able to do in this thing kind of short presentation basically. During the international collaboration about the things, basically this kind of collaboration are taking place only at national level, not at subnational places. Though some of the states are trying to get funds separately so that this kind of process so they can earn some carbon credit, etc. This process is still going on. Regarding the suggestion how to present, I think we are still working on the revision version of the paper for what we can make separate each of the simulations. There are many other simulations there which I have not presented, including in the paper, which we can do it basically. Thank you.
Okay, next Mr. Nasiruddin.
Thank you. I have 3 questions here, and it is linked with my first result, that is GDP is reducing temperature. There might have some investment to reducing temperature, as the data said. That is not specifically examined which sector is investing on reducing temperature, but there might have, and it could be further investigation in the research well that will identify what is happening in our country. Is there any sector or any technology or any other instrument that is working or enhancing our GDP and simultaneously reducing temperature in Bangladesh? As the data is collected from World Development Indicator, and that is average data, which is also included in every month from January to December. There have been winter, there have been summer, so there might have some influence in the data. And third question was also linked with this, as the growth is happening and vehicles and emission, all of things are influencing GDP as well as temperature. So the question is, as it is, there might have some invention or some technology that help our economic growth that also simultaneously reducing temperature. Thank you, sir.
Okay, just for one explanation for his paper, for economic student, you know the Kuznets curves, remember? So at least before, when Kuznets curve is like that, before going to the threshold level, your GDP increases, pollution increases. After certain level, when your GDP increases, because you take more to that. Probably that is the explanation, but that is the level like Sweden, Norway, Denmark, they are the country like level. Even USA not that level. You see that it is until that level. So you should not, confuse with that level with Bangladesh, all that. So it is a totality. Yeah.
If we go outside from here and we also see the air pollution. So we are not yet teach the upper position
Yes,
of
yes,
that
right.
So the explanation like innovation is influencing to
After certain going to the level, yeah.
This is not the actual thing.
This is not here. Bangladesh, we are our increasing. Our per capita every year, every day increasing, as you explained. Because now we are under developing countries, we growing, our GDP is growing. GDP growth, there is a relationship. $1 GDP growth, how much carbon is increasing. So that is the other. So that is the misnomer. So that is the. Okay, now we would like to go first to the Mr. Astride Akhtar. Mr. Astride, you are
Okay,
here?
yes, I'm still here. Thank you for your comment and suggestion. First, I will try to give a response to a question, and other one we will take it account to improve the paper. First, why do I combine PSM, propensity score matching, and delete? This is starting from the sampling. The sampling that we use a rigorous method for the sampling. We take account all growing environment in our study area. The major a village and a minor a village, the women and male. Then this is the sampling plan that we apply basically, and we collect data on 640 households. But after that, the all variety are disseminated. Then they are not target a specific producer, and there is more. Maybe 4 years after we go back on the field to do this study. Is not a related the basic activity or basic research activity. Then it's why we use the propensity method to match between our population, those who can be matched, those who adopt and can be matched with.
I think let's stop here now because we are now almost no time. So we are on time. So I think your explanation is clear. So it is just a suggestive. So it is So it's okay.
Okay, thank you. But about the variety, there is a multiple a several variety that disseminate. Then since the large growing environment is upland, is why we are focused on Enerica 4, which is suitable for the upland growing environment.
Okay, good. Thank you. You have very good explanation. You have to also think about, you have developed counterfactual. You have mentioned, but you have not explained. Probably that is another point researchers will look into carefully. So you need to more elaboration. So thank you very much. But that's a good, Okay. Thank you. Now, Ishrat, are you with us? Hello, Ishrat. Ishrat is with us. Are you listening? There is a few questions to you. Oh, okay. Hello, Professor Nahid. Are you with us? No. Okay. Forget about them. Okay. So let's now, we are on the, almost only 4 minutes more. It is okay because we started late. So first of all, I would like to, my sincere thanks all the presenters for making their time and good paper. Some papers are very interesting. Even Nasir paper is really, it's very timely. In Bangladesh, we don't have much paper on that. This is topic is very relevant. You have to go more careful about your thing, but the other paper is very important. And particularly, I am so happy to see our Professor Puhit paper, low carbon pathway. This is the now global challenge. How can we grow in low carbon? This is we need to work on. This is the global challenge. You have done a good work. Professor Puhit, I believe your paper you can publish in a good journal. So this is a great paper there, and particularly our paper on the linkage between temperature and economic growth. Again, don't say environmental. It's the air temperature. We are measuring air temperature. So if you say environmental temperature, that is a different thing. So it is the air temperature. So of course, very good paper, timely paper, and we appreciate it. And particularly, I also appreciate Mr. Aristide, his paper. This is very timely and very relevant, not only for Madagascar, many countries, because we are now facing huge challenge because of the climate change, and we need to find new varieties for temperature or climate tolerance. And this Lyrica 4 is one of the varieties. Maybe there are many others. So this is the paper also very excellent paper. It's a good contribution. We appreciate very much. And Ishrat Jain paper, I think this is a good start. Probably it needs more further thinking on methodology and also selecting variables and other options. But of course, this is also very, because mangrove is a resource, it's very linked to climate. And mangrove forest is considered, it is not only for economic benefit, environmental benefit. Mangrove protect us from the storm, cyclone, all that. That benefit. That's why we need to protect the mangrove. So this is the other benefit. She has now looked at here provisional services of the mangrove forest. But mangrove forest has other services, more than provincial services, regulating services, and other. So that is very important and very important for Bangladesh, because in Bangladesh we have mangrove forest is declining. We have already destroyed our Chittagong and that mangrove forest. Sundarban mangrove forest also under pressure. So we need to reduce the pressure, and her finding clearly show that if we can provide alternative sources of livelihood, the pressure on mangrove reduces. The finding is very good and has a good policy implication. I hope this is also very relevant for us. So with this, and particularly my special thanks to our discussor, Mr. Jahid Jalal. He has really read very carefully and very thoughtful comment, very useful comment. So I'll catch up you for review some of the paper, because sometimes we need a good reviewer for journal article. So we found one good reviewer for that econometrics paper come to me, because I am part of many journals. So that is the thing. And with this, and particularly audience and our Sanem for organizing, and I told that this is the topic very relevant. We should give more focus on. I think our Sanem, we economists, we are not too much on environment or climate. We are on social other aspects, but probably now climate change is taking more of that. Climate change demand more space for that. In this conference also, my sense that we should have more paper, more things. I hope in the future, Sunday conference, there will be more paper on that. So with this, I would like to thank our organizer, particularly who helped in organizing this event. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening.
I would like to especially thank our honorable chair and discussant for their valuable efforts. Now I'd like to request our honorable chair, Dr. Ghulam Rasool sir, to hand over the certificate and open up presentation to our presenter. And the certificate of the online presenters will be given through email. You hope you will get within a very short time.
Okay, nothing wrong is একটু মাস্কের মধ্যে আসতে ব্যানারটা পিছনে তো একটু একটু মাস্কের আসো আর একটু মাস্কের না ঠিক আছে তো এবার আসছে সেটা অনেক Congratulations, good paper. Work on it. I hope you can publish it in a good journal. Sorry to come out. Oh, okay. Yes, all the best.
And now, Silent team would like to give you some token of appreciation to our very insightful chair and discussant. I will hand over it to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let's give our discussion first. He did a lot of work.
You first.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Very good. Let's keep in touch. Okay. Sure, most welcome. And I would like to give my card to you. Have you, maybe you visit my Google Scholar?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, I can give you.
Thanks.
Okay. Oh, this. You want দেখো ইভাইনি আবার
আমার প্রেজেন্টেশন
please join everybody. Please join. Please come. I would like to invite all, particularly students, so that we can see in the future. I saw you are very active. When I was listening to question, very smart question. I appreciate very much. I should expect. Very sharp and intelligent question. I'm very happy to see that. When I was a student, I don't think we could ask such a sharp question. So, why don't you please come closer? Come closer. So then everybody. Okay. If I come, okay. Ready. Thank you, everybody.
It was really nice meeting you.
Thank you. Yes, this is good, very good. Okay, so I appreciate particularly our young researcher and student. So we.
Now I'd like to.
You can find